Hi, I'm Alex Pault, and I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Talking Timepieces. And today we're going to look at the Jaeger-LeCoultre Polaris. It's part of the new Polaris line. Well, not new. It came out in 2018, but it's relatively new. They just recently came out with a new line of master control, but I don't have the budget for that. And the Polaris is considered their entry-level line. And I managed to get this for a decent price, so I have an opportunity to show it to you. One of the things that they say about the Polaris is its dial, and it does have a very detailed and textured dial. If you see, the inner rotating bezel is kind of a satiny finish. The numbers and minute track is another, and in the center it's a sunburst, and it also evokes the original Memovox design, which the Polaris series was designed to evoke. The Memovox was a diver that used an actual alarm to warn the diver of being down too long, as opposed to a rotating bezel, internal or external. In this case, you could use this for lightweight diving. It's 100 meters water resistant, and it does have a countdown bezel, although the bezel is a little easy to move, which isn't terrible if you're just timing stuff around the house, but frankly I wouldn't trust it to a dive. But then again, if you're diving, you're not going to be using this to dive. You're going to be using a diving computer or something more rugged like a Seiko or a Rolex. As far as the watch itself goes, though, it's a gorgeous piece. How large is it? I'm tempted to say 40, but I believe this version is a little smaller. It's the it's 40. We've got a 40, and it is a svelte 12 millimeters thick. It's a nice piece. It's incredibly clear. The Sapphire Crystal is gorgeously anti-glare. It really does pop. You can see the numbers very well. The applied indices are lume-filled. The numbers are lume-filled. The hands are lume-filled. It's actually got a very nice lume as well. And it's just a gorgeous movement. I mean, it is a JLC. Now, the movement, one of the criticisms is the movement is a bit twee for the watch, but if you consider that the actual watch is not the bezel, but the minute track inwards, then the movement is actually a decent size for the watch. So then, because of the fact it has an internal bezel, the case has to be quite large. And it is a tungsten rotor weight. It's an 8 hertz movement. That's why it's a relatively small balance wheel, but as you can see, it's going like the dervish in there. Côte de Genève, the wave, perlage, the little swirly bits are all where they should be. You could argue that this is the first high horology piece for my collection, because Jaeger-LeCoultre is the watchmaker to the watchmakers. Now, the cons, like I said, the only cons I really have is the internal bezel is just a little easy to turn, and the straps are a pain because the lugs are so tight to the body, which actually gives it a very nice presentation, and they're just beautifully finished. But the fact that the lugs are so tight to the body, you have to have curved pins, and even then it's almost impossible to put anything except the JLC band on it, or strap, or their metal strap, bracelet, I mean. But actually that tightness also served me well, because I was able to then go to a jeweler, get some big heavy lugs bent, applied, and then I heat sealed off the ends of a NATO band, and the bead is too thick to go under the spring bar. So since it's too thick to go under the spring bar, it's actually a very secure fit, and I get the look of a NATO strap and you can still see the movement. So that's a fix I'm not going to suggest you use, because since we are talking about something that could come undone in a very embarrassing way, I'm not going to advocate it for others, but I am confident that my solution is secure. Your mileage may vary. But the bottom line is, for the price point, when you're talking in the $5,000 steel sports watch category, there's a lot of competition. But when you look at the value that the JLC gives you at that price point, the high horology, the beautiful legibility, the gorgeous face, and the beautiful hand-finished case, everything about it just screams beauty. And it is definitely a watch I would recommend. If you're shopping for that sub, think of something a little bit different. I don't own a sub. I've got an Explorer 2 and an OP and a Datejust, but I sold my sub. And I used that money, frankly, to buy this because I wanted to add a high horology piece to my collection, and the Polaris three-hander is just a perfect addition. They also offer this in a date and in a world timer and in a chronograph. So you've got a tremendous amount of selection within the family, and they all have the beautiful looks and face of this model. But actually, from a purity sense, the JLC three-hander can go toe-to-toe with anything in its class, in my humble opinion. So, thanks for taking the time to listen. This is Alex Pault for Talking Timepieces. Have a great day.